All right, welcome back. Our next speaker is Ashlee Leppert. She is an author and inspirational speaker who has presented at numerous events across the country. She is a veteran with 14 years of active duty service in the United States Coast Guard, where she served as an avionics, electrical technician, and flight mechanic instructor, and has flown on hundreds of missions with the Coast Guard, rescuing over 100 people throughout her career. She has trained over 60 basic aircrewmen and flight mechanics who served bravely and effectively under her tutelage and beyond. Ashlee Leppert had the distinct honor of receiving a personal invitation to President Trump's 2018 State of the Union address, where she was recognized for her bravery and accomplishments. Please help me welcome Ashlee Leppert to the stage.
Man, if that doesn't get you hyped before lunch, I don't know what will. Good morning, everybody. Wow, what a good-looking group of people out here today. This is awesome. Wow. Well, listen, I know I'm the last slot before lunch. Your stomachs might be getting a little growly, so I'm going to do my best to keep you entertained. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you to everybody behind the scenes and everybody that worked so hard for putting this event together. I'm so grateful to be here and share the stage with my fellow speakers. I don't know about you guys, but I enjoy real, raw, authentic people and conversations, right? Like, I don't know about you, but I turn on the news and I don't know fact from fiction, and the world just is crazy to me right now. So I want to promise you today that I'm going to give you a real, raw, authentic presentation. But I think it's only fair that I level the playing field just a little bit. If I'm going to stand before you and share some real stuff, some tough stuff, I want to get to know a little bit about my audience. Life is tough. I want to know if you guys have ever in your life have been through something tough. Divorce, loss of a loved one, a health diagnosis that seems bleak, financial struggles. Do me a favor, if any of you have ever gone through something like that in your life, please raise your hand. Now do me a favor and look around. You're not alone. And thank you for reminding me that I'm not alone in the hard stuff in my life too. That's important for me, so thank you. See, we already started off being real. I love it. We're better than all the news outlets out there. So I want to take a moment to introduce myself. For those of you who I had not had the pleasure of meeting yet, and I've met some awesome people out there. Where's Gonzo the Great at? Gonzo! If you haven't met Gonzo, y'all need to have a conversation with him. He's cool. But if I haven't met you, my name is Ashlee Leppert. Actually, it's Ashley Albright. I'm just a few short months away from my 1-year anniversary with my amazing husband, Nate. Shout out to Nate. He's over there taking some video for me. I'm a 14-year veteran of the United States Coast Guard, where I proudly served as a helicopter mechanic and rescue flight crew. I want to share some things about my life that were very impactful and actually helped create who I am today. I was born and raised in a middle-class suburb of Detroit, Michigan. Don't even say go Lions, okay? Please don't. They're not worthy of it. Detroit, Michigan, middle-class home, very loving family. I had a mom and dad who worked really hard to provide a loving home. It wasn't until I was probably 8 or 9, moving into my teenage years as well, I noticed my parents struggling. Although they were great parents, my mom, she chose alcohol as her vice because she had gone through child abuse when she was little, and she had never really dealt with that trauma. And my father, on the other hand, unfortunately, he as well went through abuse in his youth. And unfortunately, that became his vice of opioid abuse. Now, it didn't take away from them being great parents, but I started to feel helpless as a child, not knowing really how to help them. And crazy enough, I don't know if you guys know this, it was pretty wild of a fact for me as I was researching some things, but did you know that every 68 seconds an American is a victim of sexual assault? And even furthermore, every 9 minutes that victim is a child. And so as I watched my parents struggle, it sort of soaked into my heart the pain that they were feeling, that they had really truly never dealt with. But moving forward in my life, I was an outgoing kid, loved playing sports, loved being competitive. My husband will tell you I'm super competitive in everything I do. Like if y'all, even tic-tac-toe. I will be putting my best foot forward to win that game, trust me. So I played sports, I excelled in all of that, and it was great. But when I was 19 years old, I, unfortunately too, became a statistic. And I sort of had my innocence robbed through a sexual assault that had happened to me. But just like watching my parents struggle and going through what I went through, I tucked all of that somewhere in the back of my mind and chose to just carry on with a big smile and make everybody around me laugh, even though inside I was going through some stuff. At the age of 19, I did something amazing, and I decided I was going to sign up to serve my country in the United States Coast Guard. I signed the dotted line, and I went off to boot camp, and I had an amazing career. I really did. I enjoyed excelling at avionics, doing everything that you could imagine with communications, navigation, secret squirrel codes, but I also got to fly in the helicopter, which was super amazing for me. Soon I found myself stationed in Air Station New Orleans. We're going backwards, not forward. There we go. Found myself stationed at Air Station New Orleans in 2017. Also at this point, I don't know if anybody in here has ever dealt with an autoimmune condition, but I found myself for a few years struggling to diagnose something that I couldn't quite put my finger on. But again, surprise, surprise, just like everything else I was dealing with, I threw that in the back of my mind, and I was getting ready to serve my country continually with a smile. So New Orleans 2017, I'm standing duty, I'm in the peak of my career, and I get a call that I'm gonna be one of the first helicopters out after Hurricane Harvey hit the coast of Houston, Texas. Raise your hand. Y'all know about hurricane season down here? Man, it is no joke. But I'm from Michigan, y'all, okay? I don't know about hurricanes and all that craziness. I just train, and that's what we do best, right? You got some military in here. We just train, and we know how to train, and we get the mission done. But my crews and I were acutely aware what we were going to encounter during those few days. But I put on my uniform, finished with a smile, and I found myself in Houston, Texas at the end of August, and I invite you to my hurricane.
Less than a day. The entire unit was practically submerged, despite warnings of catastrophic flooding. Many were caught by anywhere. Overwhelmed emergency responders were forced to triage tens of thousands of calls, taking care of more of those who needed help urgently.
On Friday, the warnings were in place. Officials knew about Harvey's potential for devastation. It was predicted to be a monster.
As I even stand before you today, every single one of my senses still vividly recalls what I felt during those crazy few days during Hurricane Harvey. I came home from Hurricane Harvey, and although we did amazing things, we saved lives, it was a beautiful thing. But during Hurricane Harvey, there was moments where I thought that my life was gonna be over. We had limited visibility. We had up to 130-mile-per-hour gusts of wind tossing our little helicopter around. And it was my job to keep it safe and to keep those pilots on target so that we didn't hit a power line, a tree, or perhaps drop somebody out of our rescue basket. It was really hard for me to struggle with the emotional impact of what I went through. And throughout my whole life, I truly did feel like I didn't feel God working for me. I thought I was a Christian. I'd said my prayers that night. But if I'm being honest with each and every one of you today, I didn't feel God working in my life. I didn't see God help my parents. I didn't see God protect me from a tragedy. But can I tell you, during this hurricane, after we had just hoisted 12 people into our cabin, 5 of which were infants, I was overwhelmed with emotion, and I looked out the right side of my cabin, and what used to be limited visibility, somehow the clouds parted just enough for me to make out this picture right here. And I had to take this picture. This beautiful, huge, giant cross stood there, sturdy in the middle of that hurricane, almost like a message, and it instantly reminded me of Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And that might not sound like a pivotal thing for you, but can I just tell you, with everything that I had gone through up until that point, not to mention losing my best friend in a boating accident and some other things, it was really impactful for me to see that and to know that, wow, you know what, even if I don't see it, I know that God is working in my life. But truthfully, I came home from Hurricane Harvey and I became a walking, talking billboard for PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And I was under the impression that you had to be in a war zone, dodging bullets and seeing people go through even worse than what I did to get PTSD. That's what I was under the impression of. But what I didn't realize was that trauma is trauma is trauma. And it wasn't until I realized that I was sitting at home by myself. I didn't want to interact with friends. I didn't want to have the TV on. I didn't want to go out and socialize like I normally would have. I realized, wow, I have to take care of myself. But that's hard, right? We are first responders. Most of the people in this room are first responders. And I know that rescuing others is easy, but sometimes rescuing ourselves is the hardest thing that we can do. There became a moment where I had to put myself first, because if I wanted to be the best child, friend, coworker that I wanted to be, I had to take that step and put myself first. And what I realized is that everything does have a silver lining, though. After Hurricane Harvey, that mysterious medical diagnosis that I was trying to figure out by myself actually ended my career. I got diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called myasthenia gravis, which in aviation, you can't even take a Benadryl, so forget it, I was grounded. But in that moment, just a few short days after, I got a phone call, and I thought it was a joke, but it actually ended up being for real. I got invited to go to President Trump's 2018 State of the Union address and to represent not only my crew's bravery, but the crews that were down there, the maintenance technicians keeping our helicopters flying, the pilots, and the operations center. I had such an honor to be there to represent my service.
We saw the volunteers of the KGA racing to the rescue with their fishing boats to save people in the aftermath of a totally devastating hurricane. We heard tales of Americans like Coast Guard Petty Officer Ashlee Leppert, who is here tonight in the gallery with Melania.
Deer in headlights.
Ashlee was aboard one of the first helicopters on the scene in Houston during the Hurricane Harvey. Through 18 hours of wind and rain, Ashlee braved live power lines and deep water to help save more than 40 lives. Ashlee, we all thank you. Thank you very much.
So at this point in my speech, you might be wondering, wow, Ashlee, great story. Thanks for opening up. But how does that relate to me? What can I do about that? What can I implement in my life? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're at the Catalyst of Growth Summit. How you implement something from my story in your life is you just saw that everybody raise their hand and they're going through something tough. You know people in your own life going through something tough. That may look different for everybody, but here's a fact for you, that if somebody that's going through a hard time has an opportunity to simply just talk about their troubles, their problems, their trauma, their chances of developing post-traumatic stress disorder goes down by over 50%. Let me tell you, you don't have to be a counselor, a therapist, a doctor to be able to implement help for those around you. You just need to listen. Most of the time, people just want to be heard. They want to know that their story is valid, their feelings are valid. And each and every one of you have an opportunity to do that in your life. Because I don't know about you, but whether you just got through a storm in your life, whether you're in the middle of a storm, or there's one on the horizon, those storms of life, they never end. We have to build resiliency within ourselves, within our families, within our communities to be able to weather those storms together. Because although the things that I went through might look different from what you've gone through, our bodies physically, emotionally, and spiritually deal with it all the same. So let's take a challenge today. This is what I think a hero is. I don't think a hero is flying in the middle of a hurricane to save lives. I think that was my job. But I think a hero is right here. Heroes are defined not by what they have accomplished, but more so what they have overcome. I'm looking into the eyes of warriors sitting out here that have overcome everything up until this point in your life that was meant to destroy you. I think each and every one of you are a hero. So I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you as you leave today. Think about that one person in your life who's struggling. That may even be you. But take a moment, pick up your phone, be intentional, call somebody. Give them an opportunity to talk to you. You never know who you might be saving, and quite frankly, the reason I'm standing before you today, not because I enjoy public speaking, surprise, surprise, It's because I decided to be a solution to a problem. I was sick and tired of seeing everybody around me suffering in silence. I was sick and tired of seeing that 22 suicides continue to increase. Do you know suicide is the #1 cause of death in the United States? I was overwhelmed by a passion and a mission to make sure that I could help as many people as I could. And I challenge you to do the same. On the screen before you is my contact information. And I mean what I say when I say, reach out to me. This is not just lip service to say, oh, I'm going to close my speech with something like that. No, I genuinely mean it. If you don't feel comfortable talking to people in your inner circle, I now am a certified life coach, and I would genuinely love to help you heal from your pain, to move roadblocks from your life. However, I can assist you in just also letting you know that you're not alone. So again, thank you so much for listening to me today. I shared my story in my book that I wrote called The Hurricane Within, and I have that out back if anybody would like to purchase an autographed copy. It's also on Amazon if you're a fan of Audible or ebooks. But I just want to thank you so much for hearing my story and allowing me to be real, raw, and authentic with you today. Thank you.
We have one question. Did you face any struggles, particularly as a woman, while serving?
I'm back. Sorry, what was the question?
Did you face any struggles, particularly as a woman, while serving?
I faced a few struggles, but if I'm going to be honest with you, I just made sure that I could do the job just as equally, if not better, than the men, so they wouldn't give me a hard time, and that's pretty much how it was. I think that most of the time, you have an opportunity to create who you are and develop where people can respect you, and you only allow people to respect you as much as you respect yourself. And so I set a standard for how I expected to be treated, and I worked hard, and I never really dealt with any sort of backlash or any sort of judgment because of that.
Thank you.